Joe Siracusa is the Dean of Global Futures at the Faculty of Humanities over at Curtin University. He speaks to us live now from Perth. Joe, always a pleasure to have you on the News Hour. All right, first you have the hush money case, which was going on in New York. Then the taking of the classified documents when he left the White House from Mar-a-Lago. Now the January 6th insurrection. I mean, this, out of everything that he's faced so far, seems to be the most potentially damaging, right?
It would be. Pleasure to be here, by the way. Look, I've been following Trump's career for a long time. I've been following presidential politics for 50 years and all these shenanigans that go on there. And we have a prosecutor, a special prosecutor in Washington who has indicted the president on three counts of conspiracy, one of obstruction, in the District of Columbia, which is 97% Democrat, and it'll be the court case will be ruled by a woman who was appointed Barack Obama. So Trump doesn't have a leg to stand on in that room, as a matter of fact. I mean, he's going to say not guilty on the day, and he'll probably win this at appeals, or at least in the Supreme Court later on. But you know, it looks very serious to outsiders. Now, I'll give you a little secret here. Jack Smith didn't do as much homework as he said he did. What he did was he took the January 6 hearings, which didn't amount to a hill of beans, and he repackaged it as 3 conspiracy charges and defrauding the United States government. I mean, that's really what this is. He's just taking the January 6th. If you look very carefully at the beginning of his indictment there, the same words that we read in the January 6 hearing that was done by the angry congresswoman in Wyoming. So, you know, there's not much news here. And they're trying very hard to get rid of Trump. I'm just amazed how one human being could put up with all this kinds of pressure. I mean, running for the president of the United States is not for the faint-hearted.
All right, let's leave aside the judicial ramifications for just a bit. You say that you've been following Donald Trump for the majority of his career. I think you'd be the first one to agree that he is a person that can masterfully use media and the media attention for his attention. What do you think this is going to do to his image? I'm not just talking about his core base, but especially with the elections next year.
Well, I think actually he's going to win the election. I wouldn't have said that 6 months ago. Not just his core base, but a lot of Americans are very fair-minded. They can see when the courts are coming after somebody based on a whole lot of things. I mean, Trump, you're right, is a master of the media with his show, The Apprentice. And keep in mind, you know, your listeners, your viewers may not realize that Trump was also very big in the American wrestling business. He's in the Wrestling Hall of Fame for his support to wrestling on television. I mean, he knows what all the antics are about and how to get the crowd and the rest of it. But you notice that the Mueller report didn't get him. The 3 impeachments didn't get him, and that nothing gets him. You know, he seems to be unstoppable and unsinkable. So I think he will survive this too. But you're right, he is the master of media. Now, a good friend of ours, Woody Allen, once said in a movie about 15 years ago, "Celebrity is everything in America today." President Trump is a celebrity figure who has mastered the art of television, radio, and the printed page, and so he's able to manipulate people to a great deal. Is he all that smart? Well, in many ways, I'm afraid he's his own worst enemy. A lot of the things they accuse him of come right out of his mouth. The trouble here is, you know, you got to prove what his state of mind is, and you can't prove that unless he takes the stand, and he's far too smart for that.
Joe, you say that he's proving to be unstoppable. I get that. I mean, from a legal perspective, I mean, if he does look at it from the campaign period, and if he gets elected, I know that you said that he's likely to be reelected, and you wouldn't have said this 6 months ago, but the indictments actually don't qualify or disqualify him from running to the White House. And if he is elected, and if there are charges, what happens then?
Well, he runs the United States from the prison, with the exception, of course, of his Secret Service detail. I don't know what they're going to do with him. The American Constitution says nothing about somebody who's been accused of a crime or even convicted of a crime. You know, there's a great irony here. If he were a felon, he couldn't vote in the election. But as president of the United States, he can run the country from a prison cell. I mean, it's extraordinary. Most people probably don't understand that. And so, you know, he's prepared to go the whole way. And a lot of Americans, and keep in mind, 70% of Americans don't want to see Biden or Trump run for election. They have all kinds of grievances against these kinds of people. So, you know, we're looking at the not the lesser of two evils, but the evils of two lessers. I think Joe Biden is going to sort of fall off the branch by the time he's ready to run anyway. He's going to have lots of problems with his age problem and the rest of it. And Trump, if his health hangs on, he'll probably stay there. But look, Americans expect to be entertained by the White House. And I remember a very famous vice president once saying that Washington is about 37 square miles surrounded by reality. So, don't expect Washington, D.C. to look like the rest of the country. They're looking at this very hard and in a very cold light, and they will make a judgment at the end of the day.
Okay. Joe, always a pleasure talking to you. Joe Siracusa, live for us here
My pleasure.
on the NewsHour. Thank you very much, sir.